Hi, everybody. This is Mike Leahy, and thanks for joining us today for our session on cleaning up your Macola data for better supply chain management. For those of you who may not be familiar with our company, this is a little bit of a background. We've been in business forever. We focus on manufacturing and distribution. We're ERP experts. We've worked with the Macola software forever also. We're located in Cincinnati. And the short answer to what do we help you, Macola users, we help you make better use of your software investment. And the question comes up, what can our utilities do for the company? So I think in the introduction in the newsletter, I talked about, well, what if the boss came, so to speak, and said, we need to change these 500 items, the product categories are wrong, or we have these 50 items that have reorder levels wrong, or have lead times wrong. It's just overwhelming to be able to think about doing this one by one, key in the part number, tab, put in and some people have an IT department that likes to do this kind of stuff, but our utilities really, they all use Excel, and the idea is that there's no IT assistance needed, and it's all familiar Excel, and you'll see in a minute how that works. But the idea is it just totally eliminates these hours and hours of tedious keying. And without these utilities, or without your own programmer, these things tend not to get done. And thus, when there are problems with supply chain, like we're going on right now, your lead times are all going to be wrong. Your safety stock's going to be wrong or outdated. So this allows you to make changes today, but then also into the future as things change, you have a tool that can be done very, very quickly. We also have a feature in a lot of our utilities where if something goes wrong and you want to undo what you just updated, there's an undo feature. And of course, with all of our software, we provide unlimited phone support and unlimited training. So we're always there, as kind of a safety net. Okay, so we have utilities. We're going to start off with showing you this first utility for the item file and the item location file. But basically, we have utilities that allow you to make mass changes to the item file, the item location file, your bills of material, shop routings, customer price codes, the customer file, the vendor file, budgets for general ledger, journal entries for general ledger. We have a utility that allows you to go in and make changes to the due dates of your production orders, and one that maintains the sales forecast. So I purposely skipped over the third one on the list here, which is our all-in-one utility. And this is very, very popular. This doesn't allow you to add new items, but it allows you to maintain existing records that are in Macola. And what's nice about it, the reason we have the name all-in-one is that it's not just restricted to the customer files, not just restricted to the vendor file or the item master. We actually allow you to change 45 different files that are in Macola. So for example, if you wanted to change your product categories, or you wanted to change your customer types, and we'll take a look at that as well. So I think you can see that what we've done is we've provided solutions for Macola users to be able to make mass changes and maintain the files much more easily. So again, here's our little mantra. We help you make better use of your Macola investment. And at this point, let's jump over to the software. Okay, so I'm going to start with, this is our item file. We're going to start with this. This is our item file import-export utility. And I have an agenda, and I think we're going to so we're not just all looking at software. We have some other things that we can take a look at. But the item file, I'll go to this setup here. Well, let's go back here. The item file in Macola, if we were to add all the fields and the allocation file, this spreadsheet would be about 6 feet wide. It would just be overwhelming. We'd have all kinds of fields here, most of which we don't care about, most of which we're not going to populate. Um, so the trick when we develop these utilities is how can we restrict and only display on the screen the data fields that we need at this moment. So this particular field, this particular utility that I have, this is our item file import export utility, but I have restricted it. The columns here are just the columns if you were embarking on or wanting to maintain your settings for Macola MRP. These are the settings. We have product category, unit of measure, we have purchase or manufacturing, we have a planning lead time, we have an order policy code, and so on and so on. So how did I do that? How did I restrict it down to just the fields that we wanted? So I go to the settings here, and this is where this is overwhelming. There are all of these fields here, but the way that we've developed this is you put a yes in there. I want to display the description. I come down here, I want to display is this a purchased or manufactured item, and the same thing up here. The fields that are in red are fields that you don't want to be maintaining. We're not changing costs, we're not changing on-hand quantities, and red means don't go in that area. So the idea being that I've tailored this down. I want the unit of measure. I've looked through. I want the recommended minimum order, so that when I say import, and in this particular case, I'm just importing from the CA location. So it gives me a warning. Do I want to override my current spreadsheet? I'm going to say yes. And there it is. You can see how fast it is. Now, this is a little bit misleading in that the import function, I'm going to import this, is almost instantaneous because it's just reading the data. When you were to make changes, so let's say I'm going to change this product category, it's supposed to be BB. Let's say that my goal here is these AAs are now supposed to be BB. So I use the power of Excel. I cut and pasted them in here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the records back into Macola. So when I say export the records, what's going to happen is it's going to look for the records that I made changes to. But Macola has rules. We don't just dump data into Macola. The Macola has rules, and we have to follow those rules. So, for example, my order policy code, it's a P and an L and an R, and it's only that. So when I push the records back, it's validating that all my entries are correct. And then what happens is it's also going to create a backup with the date here. And if I was to need to restore the data, I would just hit restore. So the function here is that, we're making changes, and after I make these changes, this really was supposed to be something else. I want to undo the feature. So I just want to make sure that you're seeing that we can undo some of these. So the colors here mean, the blue means it's the item master, the green means it's the item location file. So, and I can do all kinds of things. I can choose all locations. I can choose, I'll import the records from all the locations. You'll see how fast this is. It does not update the records as fast, not nearly as, but I can also have a filter if I wanted to. I could say that I wanted to bring in, just product categories. I want to bring in all the product categories that are equal to AA. Okay, so I think you're getting a hang of how this works. You're typically going to go to the settings file here. You're going to select the fields that you want. You're going to go back here to maintain. You can import all locations or just certain locations. It brings the records in very fast. You're going to remember that if you're using this, then it's not going to push them back as fast. And I should make a note here for those of you who are attending who are covered by our managed services plan. These utilities are available to you at no cost. That's part of the bonus of being on our managed services. Okay, so we talked enough about this. Your question is, okay, I have 500 brand new items that somebody sent me on a spreadsheet, and they're brand new to Macola, and I want to add them into the Macola item master. This is where you do that. So you can maintain here, you can add new items, you can add new locations if you want to. But then on this spreadsheet, this utility, we have an extra bonus. You can maintain the customer items. That's the relationship between your item number and the customer's item number. Not everybody uses that. The same thing for the vendor. This is the cross-reference between your part number. I'll move this over here a little bit. Your part number and the vendor's part number. And then we also maintain routings. For those of you who are using shop floor control, you can maintain your routings. Okay, so I'm going to exit from here, and we're going to change the subject just a little bit. And I talked earlier, for those of you who are embarking on the implementing the MRP software, this is a chart that shows you all the data fields that need to be populated. This is for the item master. These are all the fields that have to be populated for the item location file. So you can see how this is not something you want to try to tackle manually, and because it's not just a matter of getting them in there the first time, it's a matter of managing them into the future. So for those of you who have our Pulse dashboard software, I'm going to show you, here's a screen that is showing you the contents of, you'll see here, all my order policy codes are missing right now. They're all blank. They need to be populated. So for those of you who are using our dashboard software and are embarking on Macola's MRP, these screens are available to you at no cost. For those of you who are just wanting to make sure that everything else is in here correctly, you would use this inventory status report. And again, I'll be happy to email this report to anybody who wants to see these fields. And the idea would be that you're going to use the column chooser, you're going to bring in the different fields that you want. So in other words, to go from here to getting this to work is a lot of work, and you need a screen that allows you to see, is this working or not? Is this working? Okay. So let's take a look at the next utility. And after we get going on here, you're going to see that there's a pattern. This is the one to maintain bills of material. And again, this is familiar Excel, and it has programming that's under the hood. And so what you can do here is you can import all your bills of material, or you could import just certain ones, and you could choose it by product category if you wanted to, but I'm going to import all of them. And there they are. No, I think it's still importing. What you can also do here is you can create bills of material, or maybe what you could do is if you were doing a mass where used, you had a component that was being changed, you could just use the find function within Excel, and you could just go in and replace all those. And again, each one of these has a setting file. You can turn on different fields if you want to. These are the reference designators. Not everybody is using the value-added cost fields again. So that's how that works. Let's take a look at another utility. This is one that's very popular. This is for maintaining your Macola price codes. So the way that this works is Macola has a variety of different price codes. There's 8 of them, depending on how you want to do things. And you can choose the price code that you want. And then you could just say import, and there it is. Or I could import, let's make it so that at least something happened different on the screen. Here we go. There weren't any for price code 2, but it's the same kind of routine. You are, now a question that comes up is, can I delete any of these columns here? Well, yes, you can delete some of the columns. Can I change the wording? I don't call it product category. I call it something else. Well, no, you cannot change the wording. You cannot change the description because that's what triggers the programming to know what data field. If I change this to, let's say I want to make this product category CATEGORY, well, now our program's not going to know what to do. So you cannot change the colors because they tell you what file to go after, and you can't change you can't change the headings. You can reference these to another spreadsheet. So you still have a lot of flexibility, but there's no reason to be changing the titles or to change. You could use this row as a row to put in your own notes, and then take it out when you want to push the data. Okay. So let's take a look at another one here. So maybe just a comment. Because supply chain is so messed up right now worldwide, a lot of our customers did not have lead times in here, did not have the primary vendor in here, a lot of real basics. So there's been a scramble over the past year to get this kind of information caught up, and that's what our utilities then are working well for that. Okay, so I want to go take a look at another one. So we looked at, let's take a look at the all-in-one utility. And I think I'll need to shut some of these down here. Okay, what this all-in-one utility is doing right now, there's the others come up real fast. This is going through and validating that everything in Macola is set up right. So it takes a moment before this comes up. So I have to wait here for a moment. I can't delete this in the meantime. Oh, here it is. It's a message that didn't show up. Database connection. Okay. So I'm going to delete this. Okay, so here we are. This is our all-in-one utility. Now, this utility is very popular. It doesn't create new records. It only maintains existing records, but it maintains existing records for about 40 different files. And I happen to have a I wanted to show you. Okay, here's our all-in-one utility. So this is the flyer for that. But what the point I wanted to make is there's about 40 different files. So this includes the product category. This includes customer types. This includes pretty much everything that you might have to maintain. We do not allow our utilities to be changing transaction files or files that impact the general ledger. So this is very popular again. So let's take a look at what we want to do here. I'm going to take this list here. So I'm going to take maybe the standard cost file, and I'm going to import the records that are in there now. Okay, so that brought the records that are in there. What I can do is I can make changes here, or I could just delete this. Let's say I wanted to delete this, and then I wanted to paste in here from another spreadsheet. I wanted to paste in records and then push that into Macola. So that's perfectly acceptable. Let's take the um, the customer file here. So here, this is one, especially where companies are using. I'll move this over. People who are using the user-defined fields, and Macola ES provides just a huge amount of user-defined fields that you can store all kinds of information. So again, this has, just like some of the others, I can filter, and I can say I want to bring in, the full name where it's equal to, this Allison Brown. Okay, so I'm just going to import that record. So I do have the ability to filter just certain data. So some people think that these utilities are just a one-time effort. Let's take something that's very very volatile, and it's purchase order lead times. Well, the lead times are constantly changing. Now we do have a utility within our Pulse dashboard that automatically recalculates the purchasing vendor lead times. But the idea being that you would want to use this utility, one of our utilities, to constantly maintain that, into the coming months and coming years. And there was a question that, well, let me stop for a minute. Stacy, are there any questions that people have asked or comments that maybe I've forgotten to discuss that take a break for a minute to do that?
Okay, yep. I don't have too many, but one of the things that maybe we could talk about is how the utility provides for audit. Can you tell who made changes or what kind of audit trail is involved?
Yes, that's very good question. Some of our utilities allow you to do that. The all-in-one does not, because there's too many tables. But the item master import-export utility does populate the audit trail files. The customer price code utility does update the audit trail file for that. So not all of them do, but some of them do. Any other
and then
questions?
some of them have the ability, if you make a change, you can revert back, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So if somebody makes a change and maybe it's wrong, you could hit a revert button and revert back. So that helps as well.
Yes, it does. The utility that allows you to do that, I think we had the item master.
The item. Mm-hmm.
Let me bring that up again. I have something running here. Sometimes there's messages behind these that don't show. Well, why isn't this? Oh, this is a PDF file.
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, that's not going to work.
That's not going to work. Yeah, this one here. There it is. Yeah, so this tab over here is called Backup. Very good point. It shows you the last time that you updated things, and it's a one-time restore, and then I can just say restore from this backup. So what this is the data before I made changes, and then it would restore it back to this, what this looks like here. So very good question. Okay, so let's look at one or two of the other ones. We've talked about the all-in-one. We've talked about the bill of material, the price codes. Let me show. Let's look at two more that are more. They're for importing rather than maintaining, but this is the general ledger budget. And this may have been corrected, but for a long time, the budget there for Macola 10, there is a budget import, but it only allowed you to budget to import items at the account level. So if you had one account, 5210, with multiple cost centers and cost units, it would only import for the first one. So we got that corrected, and so now we have full flexibility where you can read budget records. I'll show you this here. Again, I can select the scenario that I want to use, and then import those or make changes to those. So if you have a general ledger budget, the last thing you want to do is spend your time, because this is several hundred rows, is your time to create this budget, especially where you have maybe a mid-year budget that you're starting off fresh with, and you have to get that in here. Another one that we have that is popular is the ability to import general ledger journal entries. And some years ago, we observed that everybody creates their journal entries in Excel, and then they manually rekey them into Macola. So we said, well, what if you could take that spreadsheet that you already have, and you could, here's our, find one, and you could just import from there. So, but what this is showing right here is I have some bad account numbers. It's validating these account numbers, and it doesn't like these account numbers. A few years ago, we also made an enhancement to this to allow you, for those of you who are using the Concur employee expense account software, this allows you to import the detail file of expenses from Concur and then import that into the Macola General Ledger. And this setup and processing here, this allows you to see, these are the sheets that I've created, and it's allowing you to see the balance and allowing you to, have I processed it, yes or no, the number of records, and so on. So I think, well, another one that we have for people who are using Macola's MRP or Macola's master scheduling is we do have the ability to populate the Macola master schedule from Excel. And this one's a little bit unique in that the first thing it does is it imports records, historical sales records, because a lot of people base their forecast on actual activity. So it allows you to import your sales history and then make changes to that, and then you would paste that in here and then import it back into Macola. And for anybody who's using Forecast Pro, this works with that as well. Excuse me, I'm trying to clear this phone of mine that keeps going off. So I think I've covered all of the. This is our flyer of the brochure. This is all the utilities that we have. So I think I've listed all that. We have another utility that's not import-export, but for those who have a massive amount of production orders and they want to create the production orders from Excel, we have that, or go in and maybe they have a need to make mass changes to the due dates or be able to create pop orders and then release them. So we have utilities for that. But I think and then we have a utility for positive pay for avoiding check fraud. But for the most part, the ones that are the big hitters are these utilities that allow you to maintain the item master. That's the most complicated. That and the price code table and maybe the bills of material are the most complicated. They have the most data fields. When you have to deal with this, when you have to deal with this chart, you're going to embark on setting up Macola's MRP, all of these fields, and they interrelate with one another. Our utilities really pay off. And I should mention, all of our utilities are only $2,000, and they provide unlimited phone support, unlimited training. Jokingly, we say they also include unlimited retraining if somebody's left the company or hasn't used that in a while. So that pretty much, I wanted to just kind of cover these today. We're also recording this for those who aren't able to attend and can get a feel for this. We have a good story to show with these utilities, and the idea being that these save huge amounts of time. I think one of our customers at one point said that these utilities were like having Christmas every day. So I thought that was a nice compliment. Okay, so this is it. After this webinar is over, if you have any questions, you can call us. Stacy, anything that I've forgotten to discuss as we go along here before we end our session?
I don't think so. I think if anybody's got it, nobody else has asked any questions. And I think the important thing is just to know that they're there, and when you need to make major changes, these are definitely invaluable.
Okay. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a good rest of the week. For those of you who are customers already, we sure appreciate your support. Those of you who are managed services customers, remember that all of this, everything we've shown here and discussed, is available at no extra cost. And if you're new to us, feel free to give us a call, and we'd be happy to have a demonstration of this software for your team, or have another question and answer session. So, okay, thanks again, and have a good rest of the week.
Thanks, Mike. Bye.